All right, all right. Good Tuesday evening, everyone. Thank you so much for joining CPOC for our November Virtual Community Town Hall. Now, I know what you are thinking. Yes, we just met each other just a few days ago in Norris Square for a town hall, but we did want to do a little check-in with the community just to talk about, some of the quality of life issues that some neighborhoods might be facing, talk a little bit about some of the nuisance things that kind of happen around the holiday season, and just have a little farewell before the Thanksgiving holiday for those that celebrate. So thank you for joining us. And so I am going to introduce a couple of the staff that are in attendance. My name is Talia Grimmage. I am one of the senior policy analysts with the Citizens Police Oversight Commission. Our executive director, Anthony Arachi, is with us. Hi, Anthony. We are joined by Danny Guy. Hi, Danny. And Julian Jordan, our community outreach and constituent services specialist. Hey, Julian, how are you? I'm going to go ahead and recognize our commissioners that are in attendance. You know what, Danny, do you mind? Can you share your screen with the...
I can, just the presentation? Sure.
Yes,
Give me
please.
1 second. Sorry.
As Danny mentioned, it's been a little while since we were virtual, so we wanted to be a little fancy this evening.
All right. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Great.
Nice. Okay. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. All right, our commissioner. There they are. There they are. Okay, so there are quite a few online, so I am going to go ahead and just recognize them. And then I would like each of our commissioners maybe to take about a minute or two and just, introduce yourselves to the group and just tell us a little bit about why you joined the CPOC Commission. So I'm just going to go in order of who I see on my screen. So I have Miss Rosara Thomas. I have Elder DeBose is with us this evening.
Yeah, I'm letting them unmute. They should be able to unmute themselves now.
Okay. Miss Rosa, how are you? Welcome.
Oh, I'm good, thank you. Okay, I didn't know if you wanted me to start. Okay, thank you so much. One of the main reasons that I decided to apply as commissioner for CPOC was because of my personal experience of domestic violence. But sadly, yes, my domestic violence is involving police. My ex-husband was a high-ranking chief inspector. But also the experience that my brothers and my son, who is deceased now, Moses, had experienced because he was always racially profiled because of the way he looked and the way my brother looked. And I thought, what can I do to help my community? What is important to me to help my community? And how I feel that they need us. They need us to help them. But they also need us to help them with what goes on within the police department. It has been sad. It has been very, very sad because I don't like some of the things I've seen, but I really have to emphasize on this, that we have to come together somehow, some way as commissioners to make sure that our community realizes that we are going to do everything in our power to help them. No matter where they live, I'm in Mayfair, North Philly, West Philly, Southwest Philly, Kensington, it does not matter. I want to be able to do whatever I can to help my community because I personally have experienced my son, my brothers, and I want to let them know that no matter what, I am going to do everything in my power to help them. So this is one of the main reasons why I wanted to become, and I became commissioner for CPOC.
Thank you so much, Ms. Rosa. Can you just tell us what district you live in?
I'm in the 15th district.
15th. Thank
Yes.
you.
You're welcome.
Okay, I see our commission chair, Jolly Hatchett, is on with us this evening. Jolly, how are you?
There it is. I was having trouble unmuting. Good evening, everyone. It is my pleasure to be here with you all. Thank you all for being here with us. My name is Jolly Hatchett. Briefly about me, I'm from South Philadelphia, born and raised. A large family. We're predominantly males in my family. Kind of what Rosaura mentioned, myself as well as my family. We either were subjected to or witnessed a lot of incidents of what I'll just characterize as police misconduct. And it just was one of those things growing up with it. I felt like the best way to try to correct things like that is to try to join some kind of organization. You know how to say if you can't beat them, join them. Well, in this instance, to try to join some kind of organization where you can kind of affect change from the inside. Because for most organizations, especially for police departments, I think that the most change comes from within. So that's what drew me to apply for it. And fortunately, I was selected to serve amongst the other esteemed commissioners. So that's me, and it is my pleasure to be here with you all and to serve as a commissioner.
Thank you, Jolly. And what district do you live in?
I'm in the 12th district.
12th district. All right, all right. Okay, Elder DuBose, thank you for joining us. Welcome.
She might need her tech support to help unmute us. Why don't we go to another person while we wait for her?
Okay, sounds good. Mary Ellis, how are you?
Oh, my bad. I thought I was talking. Hello, everyone. My name is Mariela Santiago. I represent the 24th district. I currently live here. I work in the 25th district, and I was also raised in the 25th district. And I'm a K through 12 educator currently, but I've spent the last couple of years working in nonprofits, in local government, just servicing the community, looking at data, finding ways and programs to improve the community. And this was one way that I could come and genuinely find the help that I believe our youth need and also be a part of that change.
All right, thank you, Mary Ellis. Elder DuBose, are you ready to introduce yourself?
That was a no.
Oh, no, okay. All right, we'll move on to Judge Lerner. How are you? It's good to see you.
We still muted, Judge. There we go.
Have I succeeded in doing that?
You have.
Good evening, and thank you to all of the members of our community who decided to join us this evening. My name is Ben Lerner. I am a Philadelphia native, born and raised in the Feltonville section of North Philadelphia, a product of the city's public schools, a very proud product of the city's public schools. I presently live in the 9th district. I'm by far the oldest member of this commission. And so I've had perhaps a greater variety of experience with regard particularly to our criminal justice system. I spent about 22 years as a Court of Common Pleas trial judge, handling mostly serious criminal cases, including over 15 years of being the supervising homicide calendar judge. I also spent 15 years being the chief public defender in Philadelphia, and a couple of years as a deputy managing director for criminal justice. One of the main things that I learned in my career, particularly as a judge, is that there is no anti-violence program that anyone has ever devised in this city or in this country that will work unless it has the full cooperation of the community and the police. I learned this through years of hearing from victims' families and defendants' families in my courtroom, often at a really wrenching sentencing hearing that had to be held. And I've also learned that the community generally, and this goes for every part of this city, every corner of this city, it crosses gender lines, racial lines, ethnic lines. The community wants fair policing. The community is entitled to fair policing, and the community will not cooperate fully with the police department unless it feels that it's receiving effective and fair policing. Most of the police officials that I've worked with over the years understand this, and frankly, I think the large majority of them try to deliver that. But procedures and policies and personalities over the years have created large gulfs between what people have a right to deserve from their police department and what they get. And they've also created large gulfs between the efforts of really good police officials and police officers to provide those services and how those services are in fact viewed and received by the community. When I had to retire because of my ancient age, I reached mandatory retirement as a judge, and I learned of the city council ordinance that formed this commission and set up this new system of civilian oversight of police. I thought that I could use my experience, if I could be a part of that, I could use my experience to help achieve the goals that I've just been describing. So far, based on my interaction with my fellow commissioners and our staff, I haven't seen anything that changes my mind about our ability to achieve these goals as long as we have the understanding and the cooperation of our communities, and as long as we are able to obtain the understanding and cooperation of our police department.
Thank you so much, Judge Lerner. It is always a pleasure, hearing from you, and it's a pleasure having you and all of our commissioners a part of our commission. You all, like you said, come with a wealth of experience and knowledge and background that just makes our commission really diverse, and we love having all of you. So let me see who's next. Hassan, hi there. How are you?
Good evening. Good evening, commissioners. Good evening, CPOC staff. Good evening, community. My name is Hassan Bennett. I'm from the 19th. I represent the 19th District of Philadelphia. That is the Overbrook section of West Philadelphia. I grew up in this section as well as South Philly, bouncing back and forth. My travel to as a CPOC, to become a CPOC commissioner was quite different from everyone else. I was convicted of murder and sentenced to life in prison as a result of police misconduct. While incarcerated, I began studying the Constitution and the amendments following the Constitution, as well as the laws that came from them. I began to represent myself, do away with all attorneys and represent myself in the court of law, and I was acquitted by a jury of my peers. While studying the law, I realized that police misconduct was frequent in the city of Philadelphia. I've experienced, unknown to myself and my peers, we've been experienced police misconduct without even knowing it. We've been experiencing police misconduct since we were allowed to walk to school by ourselves. And I realized it's because we don't know our Constitution. We don't know our rights as humans. We don't know our rights as American citizens. So I dedicated my life to actually standing against police misconduct and teaching our community what your rights are. I never thought this commission would be in Philadelphia. I never thought anything like this exists. But in coming home in 2019 and continuing to stand for the rights of the citizens, continuing to stand for good policing and believing that you can police and respect people's rights, I ended up appointed to the CPOC Commission. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Hassan.
It looks like Elder Blasek is unmuted now and can talk.
Yep, that's what I was going to say. Elder DeVos, how are you?
I'm fine. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
We sure can.
Thank you. I'm sorry for the interruption, but if I'm muted from the top, that kind of puts me in a precarious position. So I'm here now, and as has been stated, I am Elder Melanie DeBose. Most of my working hours are done in the 26th district of Philadelphia. My segue onto the CPOC came as a result of the fact that I am an integral part of Power Live Free, and we work toward criminal justice reform. After the Starbucks incident, we launched an in-depth investigation into how the police were comporting themselves in the city of Philadelphia. And naturally, there were findings that led us into a deep dive to evaluate how citizens were engaging in exercising their rights in other parts of our nation. So we did a series of 8 town hall meetings over 16 weeks, and we learned that there were citizens-based organizations across the nation, and that was the impetus to drive us to really move what we knew as the pack out from under the mayor and really develop this commission. So having done that preliminary work and research, I'm very proud to have been selected out of the team that did all of that investigatory work. And it can be found, some very good information can be found on the Power website under Live Free, and a series of town hall meetings can be found there. Good, solid information. But I am proud to be a part of this commission, and my commitment is to continue to represent the members of the community, especially the most marginalized citizens of the Black and Brown communities, in issues that where their rights have been trampled and where opportunities to have their voice heard has been stifled. So I'm glad to be a part of this august body, and I hope that as we continue to get to know one another and get to know the needs of our citizens in general, and in particular, that we will really rise to the occasion of making sure that everyone's voice can be heard and everyone's hope in the city and in our police department can be established or restored. Thank you again for this opportunity to share in this moment.
Thank you so much, Elder DeBose. So next I see Hakeem. How are you? Unmute yourself and introduce yourself to the group.
Can you hear me well?
We can hear
Yep.
you well.
All right, there we go. Good evening, commissioners, fellow CPOC staff. My name is Hakeem. I'm one of the commissioners, obviously, for Police Oversight Commission. A little bit about my journey, how I got involved. I helped direct a education nonprofit reform, and one of our campaigns that we spearheaded was disrupting the school to prison pipeline. And in result of actually communicating with my fellow students and my peers inside of high schools and throughout our community, I noticed that there was a lack of engagement with police and, fellow, youth like myself. So I joined CPOC to not only just help add oversight, but most importantly, be involved with my community and with youth working with police officers. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Hakeem. Let's see.
John is on.
John Solomon. Yes, how are you? Unmute yourself and introduce yourself to the group, please.
Give me a second. So I'm having issues with being able to turn the camera my way so you can see me.
Okay.
So I'm hoping it's not an issue that my face isn't showing, not trying to hide my face or
No,
anything like that.
no worries.
No, we can hear you fine.
Okay, so first and foremost, good evening to the community, CPOC staff, as well as the commissioners. My name is John Solomon. I am the Citizens Police Oversight Commissioner for the 39th District. I was born and raised in North Philadelphia, 24th and Somerset, to be exact, which is the same area that I'm currently overseeing. I spent the last 6 to 7 years being entrenched in the community, specifically focusing on community violence intervention work. Have my own nonprofit organization. So I'm the founder and executive director of the organization. And I spent the last 6 to 7 years really leading in community and building relationships with younger individuals that has been impacted by not only gun violence, but also been impacted by police misconduct. And growing up in the community, just like many of the younger people, we never really understood how to hold police accountable for misconduct. So when I heard about the Civilian Police Oversight Commission, initially I had no interest in becoming a commissioner, but as I thought about all the people that I've spoken with over the years, just being on the ground in the community and talking to younger people, one common theme was that younger people were being mistreated by police officers that, that oftentimes, was in the community and made them feel like there was nothing that they can do to hold police accountable. And although we know that there are good police officers out there, we do know that for years, for decades, in Black communities specifically, we often feel like we don't have the power to hold police accountable. So my interest became me learning more about holding police accountable, because this is something that I wasn't even taught growing up. So I became interested in understanding the process, understanding policies, understanding procedures, understanding law, because really, when it comes to community violence intervention or just anti-violence or reducing gun violence, it's so important. I believe Judge Lerner spoke about this earlier. It's so important that police, that we trust police in the community, and we know historically that hasn't been the case. So I got involved in even applying to be a commissioner because I thought it was important for me to understand, this whole process, to be able to educate younger people and just community in general on how to even do basic things like creating a paper trail and actually filing a complaint against a police officer for police misconduct. So that is what really inspired me to take interest in applying to be a Citizens Police Oversight Commissioner, because I think it's important that the community and the police department have a trusted relationship with each other. So that is why I decided to even consider or even apply to be a Citizens Police Oversight Commissioner. So that's a little bit about myself. And I'm here to learn more so what other community members might be going through. So I'm all ears, and I'm open for any questions that anybody might have for me. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Thank you. I just wanted to acknowledge that we have 8 of our 9 commissioners on this evening. We're just missing one, Afroza Hossein. And, a lot of people have talked this evening a little bit about, police misconduct. And I just wanted to just throw this out there for anybody that's new. CPOC sits on the Police Board of Inquiry, which is a panel that hears allegations of police misconduct. It's really, really exciting for Philadelphia because there is a civilian in the room that hears the case, hears the allegations, and makes a recommendation to the police commissioner about any disciplinary action that should be imposed. So in addition to, taking complaints against police, we are a part of the PBI panel. And there are certain hearings that are open to the public, and we post those on our social media. So if you follow us, if anybody's ever interested in coming to see what that process looks like, the dates are posted, and we would, welcome the community's attendance at those events. And so I am going to turn it over now to our Executive Director, Anthony Irachi.
Good evening, everybody. Nice to see everyone tonight. This is the Executive Director's report. This will be brief so we can get to our presenters. Year-to-date total for our complaints, we have taken 109 total complaints against police this year. That is not the total, the grand total for complaints against police, because there's numerous other venues. This month in October, we did 8 complaints against police. Community events attended this month were the Scare in the Square in Norris Park. We also hosted a community town hall in West Kensington. And we were at the Other Options Gun Violence discussion at MLK High School, and Civilian Police Academy graduation, where a few of our commissioners actually graduated and learned a lot sort of inside baseball on how the police department trains their staff. In other news, CPOC is now once again part of the Illegal Evictions Action Team. This was something that we were in an old iteration of the PAC that we were part of years ago. I think because of the pandemic, and it kind of went away for a little bit, but now it's back and helping residents navigate illegal evictions and making sure that the PPD knows what their responsibilities are when they're called for service for those events. Otherwise, the only other big piece of news is that hopefully we'll be able to post tomorrow. We're doing a lot of hiring for our phase in, including general counsel and several other positions within CPOC. So keep an eye out on the city's website for the job postings, and let all your friends know, and anyone that might be interested, to give us a look and see if they might be interested in joining our team and joining the cause. Otherwise, stay tuned. We have some good presenters here, and enjoy the rest of the evening.
All right, thank you so much, Anthony. Julian, you want to take it from here?
Make sure Julian's unmuted.
There we go. Sorry. I had some technical difficulties with my laptop, so I jumped onto my phone. If you at any point can't hear me or can't see me, please let me know, and I will adjust accordingly. We have two awesome guest speakers for this evening. The first is Mr. Thomas Ferrant, Esquire. He's from the CLS Housing Unit, and he's going to have some great information for us. He's going to start out, and then after that, we're going to go to Officer Jesse Woodhouse, who represents the 16th Police District. So I will turn it over to Mr. Ferrant.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tom Ferrant, and I'm a staff attorney with Community Legal Services Housing Unit. We in the unit primarily focus on eviction defense or ejectment defense, but we also can do habitability stuff. I was asked tonight to briefly speak about certain topics such as utility moratorium on shutoffs for the winter, as well as illegal lockouts, hoarding, and I wanted to go over a few things. So I'm going to attempt to share my screen. Hopefully.
Let me just hold on one second.
Yeah, no problem.
I just have to unshare mine.
All right.
Hold on, let me just, it might be set to our. All right, you should be able to share now.
All right. All right, so I tend to not like PowerPoints. And so I like to go right to the guts of it, because I can show you guys PowerPoints, I can show everybody handouts and things like that. But then when you're asked to show your math, and somebody says, well, what is the laws or what have you that actually back up what you're trying to assert your rights, you should have it right here. So as far as the utility moratoriums, this is,
oops, sorry. That was a glitch on my end.
Oh, no problem.
Again, sorry about that.
No problem at all. So as far as the utility moratoriums, this is coming from Pennsylvania statute, and it's 66 PACS 1406, and it's termination of utility services. So if we scroll down here and we go to it, we can see that the winter termination. So between December 1st and March 31st, electricity and natural gas will not be terminated to service of customers whose household incomes are at or below 250% of the federal poverty level, except for customers whose actions, and there's an enumerated list up here. It's essentially if you've have unauthorized use of the service or you've committed some sort of fraud. So then you have to sort of say, all right, let's see what the federal poverty line is, and let me open up can everybody see this? So you can actually go through and you can Google what the federal poverty guideline is.
We can only see the original document.
The original?
Share it.
All right, I gotta, it wouldn't let me do my desktop.
Yeah,
here.
Zoom won't let you do that for some reason.
Yeah. So let me swap over. So here you can see the actual federal poverty guidelines. So this is something that's going to be hosted on the federal government's websites. And you'll if you Google it for the 2022, you're going to be able to see exactly where your family fits into this. And it'll have this, it'll have a spreadsheet here, and you can see what your household size is, and then what what is below 250%. So basically, if you have like a three-person household, under 250% is going to be a household income of $57,575. So that's sort of a baseline to figure out whether or not you or your family members would fall under that. So that's for electricity and gas, and that is governed by Pennsylvania statute right there. So between December 1st and March 31st, if you fall within that federal poverty guideline level that's there, and you didn't commit fraud in getting your utilities turned on, then you should be protected by that. Going back to water now, let me swap over real quick. Sorry, I am having to bebop around here. The rule for water comes through a regulation from the water department. And again, excuse me, let me scroll down here. It says the water department will suspend termination of utility services to residential occupied properties for non-payment of bills from December 1st to March 31st. But it doesn't suspend the obligation to pay. So theirs is a bit different. It doesn't have that hook there with the poverty line, the federal poverty line. But so that's it. That's what's governing these rules that we have on the moratorium of the cutoff of the utilities for folks in the city for that winter moratorium. And let me go back to, let me swap out here. I'm sorry I'm moving quick, but I know we have limited time to talk with everybody, so I'm not trying to hog everything. I'm trying to get as much information out as I possibly can. All right, sorry about that. All right, so illegal lockouts. Generally what we think of as illegal lockouts would be if a landlord comes in, they shut off your utilities, or they change your locks, or they do some sort of other thing to try to get you out of your home. The people have had their doors removed, their windows removed, things of that nature. So if something, of that sort of vein happens to you, you can get help at CLS. I'll give the number at the end here. But those things all fall under illegal lockouts. In order to be locked out of your property, a landlord has to go through the court system. They either have to file an ejectment in municipal court, or excuse me, an eviction in municipal court, or an ejectment in the court of common pleas, and get a judgment against you, and then file the proper writs to get the sheriffs to lock you out. So if your landlord does not have the proper writs and can't show you that, or they do one of those other things, then chances are you might be having an illegal lockout. So what you can do there is you can call up the municipal court at that number, 215-686-7334 between 9 a.m. and 4:30 to try to see if an eviction happened there. If the lockout was illegal, how the city sort of set up our system of dealing with illegal lockouts is you're supposed to call 911 and have the police come out. You should have something proving that you're a resident there. Like it says your lease, rent receipts, utility bills, photo IDs, something showing that you are tied to that property. If somebody doesn't assist you, they say call 911 again and ask for a supervisor to come out there. Going back to the meat of it, our city, the ordinance that actually protects you for the legal lockouts is 9-1600. So if anybody ever asks you to what is the ordinance that governs this, and it goes through, and I'm not going to bore you with the nitty gritty here, but it defines exactly what illegal lockouts are, and it's a pretty broad definition. And then there are penalties here. So essentially, when this happens to you, what we always say is that, document. So take photographs of what's going on. If it's something that's not easily photographed, then take a video. Say your keys don't work in a lock. You could always take a video showing that now your keys don't work. Take photographs, keep documentation of any communications you have with your landlord about the subject. As far as when the police show up, you could, jot down the officers' names, badge numbers, try to see if they'll issue a report like a 48, 7548, something along those lines. And so that you have documentation for, potentially the court case that you might have. Now, as far as illegal lockouts, you can, if you're not let back in, or say it's an ongoing thing, you have a couple of options. I would suggest that you consult with legal services organizations such as Community Legal Services or any of our partner organizations, because we could inform you. It's more nuanced for your particular circumstances. But the options are you could file something with the Fair Housing Commission. The commission, they're busy. They have a pretty full docket, so it might take them a while to address it. Or if it's something that's emergent, say, your utilities are cut off and you need to you need to have them turned back on, you can consult with a legal services attorney and try to get us to file what's called an emergency injunction to try to get a court order forcing the landlord to, turn the utilities back on if the landlord did that, or, fix whatever issues that are going on. The law itself has, there's a private right of action here. It says that you can have an injunction. There's fines associated with this $2,000 per violation. And then if it's an ongoing issue that's going on, and the landlord isn't curing it, then it actually gets some pretty mean teeth in it, because say the Fair Housing Commission issues a finding or order determining that it happened, each day subsequent to that, it's a separate violation. So they start racking up fines, $2,000 a day after that. So there are some teeth with these things. But sometimes, you just want to get back into your property. The injunction route might be the way you're doing it, but each thing's very case specific. Each individual has very specific needs for their circumstances. So that's the other thing. The other thing that I wanted to highlight is the police department directive that actually governs how officers should interact with this. Is this directive 3.17, and this will actually lay out exactly what officers are supposed to do when they get there. And essentially, it describes what they're doing, and then it describes what officers are supposed to do. Establish the identities, and then issue the tenant's referral notice, verify the lawfulness of the eviction. And then, if the landlord's there, sometimes these things happen and people get back from work and they find that their locks are changed, but, try to see if an alias writ was issued. And then, as I said right there, prepare the 7548. And then, they're supposed to issue a non-traffic summary citation. Sometimes that doesn't happen. A lot of times it doesn't happen. But results may vary, because like folks have said on this before, you're not, you never know exactly the experience of the officer that's going to show up to deal with your situation. You might have somebody that's been on the force for quite a while and they dealt with these things, or you might have somebody that's relatively new and they're unfamiliar with the illegal lockout procedures. So it's good to always have these resources handy, so that if an officer shows up, you know what they're supposed to be doing, and you can point to it. And then lastly, let me drop out of this for a second again, and then go back. So I wanted to point this out. Good resource is for folks is phillytenant.org. This is a website that's run by CLS and sister organizations. And that hotline number there is very useful if you need help, if you're facing eviction, ejectment, or there's some sort of habitability issue in your home. You can call that, and it'll get spun out to the proper people to help you. On this website, there's all sorts of resources. It's basically broken down by sort of what your problem is. There's also a resource library for folks that goes over, different, legal resources and different flyers and things. So this is a very good resource for folks to go to as a starting point of, their search. And finally, I was asked to address issues with hoarding. If a loved one or somebody has issues with hoarding, and they're facing potential eviction or actions because of this. There's a Philadelphia hoarding task force. And each case is very case specific, but folks will try to work with people to get them support in order to try to address the situation so that it doesn't lead to an eviction or other negative consequences. So that's everything I think that I was asked to go over. I don't know if anybody has any questions. I know I kind of ripped and rolled through it, but so at CLS we primarily focus on eviction defense. So if anybody is facing eviction, that's one of our primary roles. In Philadelphia, there's right to counsel in the zip codes 19121 and 19139. So if individuals are being evicted within or an ejectment action within those zip codes, and they call us up, they have a right to an attorney. So we'll do everything we can to get an attorney assigned to them. We try everything we can, but there's only so many of us. So sometimes we might ask folks to try to get a continuance on a first listing so that we could get somebody to cover down on a following listing because we only have so much bandwidth. But we fall all over ourselves to make sure everybody that falls within our income criteria gets representation on this because it's primarily for low income folks. So if anybody has any questions, I could post my email address up in the chat here, and I am quite happy to answer anybody's questions if we don't get around to it.
Looks like we have a question, Julie. Did you want to do questions now, or did you want to finish the other sections?
Oh, questions now. I think Julian's handling this part.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I was going to say if anyone in the community has some questions, now would be a good time because Mr. Ferrant has to run early. He has another engagement. So I'll give a minute if anyone has a question. If not, I do have a question.
There's actually 2 hands raised. I just unmuted Kazar. And if anybody wants to put questions, you're also welcome to do it in the chat or send them direct message to me in the chat. But I'll turn it over to you.
Kazar,
thank you.
Kazar Abdul Khabir. I heard everything he was saying. One of the things that we are experiencing about eviction is when the moratorium went out for renter assistance, a lot of the landlords were not picking up the checks. They were allowing them to stay there. I am one of those persons that it happened to. The December 10th of last year, the check was sitting there. And my landlord did not pick it up until July of this year. And they took me to court to have me evicted, saying that I was not paying rent. And so I think that's something that needs to be looked at more, because a lot of people are losing their homes because of landlords trying to evict them out while they can raise the price of the rent that's there. I live on a street where majority of a 3-bedroom house right now is $1,500 a month. And I'm been fortunate. I'm the last of the $700 a month person. And so I see them trying to evict me out of here. So I wanted to know, what can we do to make sure that when these people are putting in for these rental rebates or getting rental rebates and these landlords are not picking it up, what recourse do we have in between there?
So is it the rebate or rental assistance? So
rental assistance. I didn't mean to say
like the phase 4 rental assistance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Rental assistance has improved dramatically. At least the like how there's a new court liaison that has really helped folks out with rental assistance, and that's done a heck of a job with sorting that out. With the landlords not sort of apply or getting the check. Usually it's wired to them recently. So there might have been something going on with the application. And there are certain community organizations that could try to help you with that. The advice, I don't know the specifics of your particular case, but I would say document. so that if anybody ever does try to bring you to court, you have that documentation there showing that you applied, that the rental assistance was available, and that they did not pick up the check, or they did not get the funds.
Not to cut you off, but when I did go to court, there were many people down there that was going on with that, and the lawyer that they had for each person kept putting them in front. I had even asked for a continuation so I can see where the money was, and he was like, you don't want to do that. You want to do it now because they can put you out afterwards. So, like I'm saying, a lot of these people are poverty-stricken people, and they depended on that check. And so we need to get a safeguard of if there have been people that have been said that they will give them the rent, then they have to make sure that the landlord picks it up. The landlord shouldn't be, wire or whatever. They need to get that because these people are depending on it, and then they are fearful of the sheriff's department coming, kicking in their door and taking them out of the house.
Yeah. The other thing is, with that, the sheriff shouldn't come unless they have a judgment there, back to the legal lockout thing. So if anybody has concerns with that or their specific issues, I'd say give a ring to the Philly tenant hotline, because they'll get assigned for a callback, and they'll be able to give folks like a little bit more nuanced answer about their specific situation, and like if it's phase 4 rental assistance or some other type of rental assistance. But you're absolutely right. Like, where folks are having a tough time in Philly right now, and this rental assistance is what a lot of people are depending on in order to maintain housing. So hopefully the system works a lot smoother for folks.
Thank you. Miss Annette, you put, looks like I have your hand raised, and then I also see you put it in the chat. Did you want to ask your questions, or would you prefer me to read them for you?
It can be both. I don't talk too well.
Okay, I'll read them. So Miss Annette's 2 questions were, if a person comes home and realizes they've been illegally evicted, they may not be able to get the necessary documents to show to police officers. Many people in general are not aware of these rights. Are there people in this group where the community would be better able to assist them?
So if you don't have access to that, you could call the number on the hotline there. And I know if I got a case that, somebody had been illegally evicted, if they didn't have access to their documents, I would try everything that I possibly could in order to find some records, maybe open source stuff. A lot of times there are different, there are just different data sets out there that folks will tie people to a property. So some places will have data sets for voting records for different, where somebody's registered to vote from, things of that nature. So there are different ways that one could go about trying to I guess establish that you're tied to the particular property. But one of the other things there that I would like to sort of highlight is that in that police directive, it does say that the officers should not help the tenant to like physically gain access to the apartment. So that's one thing, like, for folks to expect, is that officers not going to help you break the lock to get into the home to show get the documents that you need. So on a lot of this stuff, it's just sort of going to be getting creative if you don't have access to those documents. But I would try to at least keep something if you're dealing with a landlord that you might not trust, and you foresee situations like this. You might want to just start carrying around some sort of, whether it be an electric bill or something along those lines on you, that so you can tie yourself to that property should the need arise.
Thank you. Next hand raise I see is Erica Mines.
Hello, good evening. Thank you for this information. My question is, or should I say a comment, is that we have a management company in our neighborhood where several members in our community during our meetings have spoke about how the landlord is trying to like harass them through like continuous evictions. And I know that one of them is like a PHA housing resident, and I think another one has like a housing choice voucher. And both of them don't have like actual leases because I think the leases are held at PHA or with the landlord themselves. And they just get like the information in the mail telling them how much their percentage of the rent is each month. But one of the tenants was saying that they withheld their rent because the landlord did not commit to like maintenance problems over a series of years. And so after they went through the process of like PHA getting the maintenance problems fixed and paid the rent, after asking the landlord if they would no longer go through the process of evicting them, the landlord did that. And so the tenant was asking for like the landlord actually did it twice. And so the landlord, the tenant was asking for, I guess, some security from the landlord, saying that they would no longer be proceeding with the eviction process. And instead of like giving the tenant that security, they just went ahead and filed eviction papers. So now the tenant is going through the diversion program to where so they'll be forced to pay the landlord's legal fees when the whole process is not even the tenant's fault. It was on behalf of the landlord, but also the landlord is also understanding the development that is happening in the neighborhood and unfairly raising rents. So like property that was like about $900, or now they're wanting to raise it to like maybe $1,200 or $1,300, which makes it even harder for people to afford the rent. So there's no communication between PHA and some of the landlords, and like when they're reaching out to PHA, they're not responding in time. So they're constantly getting termination letters. And then when they go to like turn and places like that, like they're not getting a swift enough turnaround response to prevent them from being evicted. But I just want to know like what kind of protection is out there for tenants when they have landlords doing like unfair things to them. And if there's a place that I could like direct like the folks in my community, because it's the same a management company, I don't want to say the name like that, but they have a lot of PHA houses and the development that's happening in Hunting Park, and the conversations that's happening says that they are trying to push these people out in order to raise the rent so new people can come in to accommodate the development that's happening.
I would say, again, that number with CLS, because if folks are getting evicted, that's one of our priority things. So we could at least try to stop the eviction action that's happening there. As far as their recourses, if there's, I don't know the specifics of every case there, so it's hard to say it with clarity, but there are unfair debt collection practice laws. And there is a thing called Dragonetti Act, where it's essentially if somebody files a frivolous lawsuit against you and you prevail, you could countersue them for essentially abusing the system. So there is a recourse for folks that want to pursue something like that if they're getting frivolous serial eviction actions filed against them. But I would tell them to consult with an attorney before doing anything because it's very, very case specific. And it's hard to give broad answers on this because like anybody's life here, there are very specific circumstances that will really tend to sort of inform what the outcome is and what action they can take. So I would say consult with an attorney so that they can get help. And that phillytenant.org, that number there, especially for folks that are going through evictions, that's a resource for them.
And what was the number for CLS, just so I can throw that in the chat?
So the CLS, so for us, the housing unit, it's that number on phillytenant.org is going to be the feeder number for us or our sister organizations. And so it's us and Legal Clinic for the Disabled and Senior Law Center. I apologize. It's been a long day, folks. So it's 267-443-2500. And that they'll try to get you spun out to most likely a paralegal or somebody will do the initial triage on the case, and then get it assigned to an attorney, especially in eviction actions like the one that was just being discussed.
Those, I think, were all the hands raised, Julian, that I had, and no other questions in the chat box.
Alrighty. I did have one quick question that I was just thinking of. So say, for example, someone is either going through an eviction or has been evicted. Would your organization provide help with, kind of navigating if the landlord potentially, kept their entire security deposit, or if they're unsure if the landlord is eligible to keep their security deposit? Is that something that you can help them with?
So yes, security deposit things are something that we can help with. In the context of an eviction action, it kind of, it's case specific, because sometimes, there'll be things called, it's a judgment by agreement, essentially settling the case. And in those, sometimes it's spelled out whether or not the landlord's keeping the security deposit or the tenant's keeping the security deposit, or, sometimes it's silent. The return of the security deposit's actually governed by the Landlord-Tenant Act. That's a state level act. And so generally it's when when the tenant moves out of the home, they're supposed to give a forwarding address to the landlord and request their security deposit back. And then the landlord has a certain amount of time in order to return it. I believe it's 30 days. And then if the landlord doesn't either return it or give you essentially an itemized list of why they're not returning it, with like the damages to the property or what have you, the reasons why they're doing it, then I do believe it's double damages that you can get in a small claims case. So that's something that we could give you information on as far as how to go about trying to get that back. I will say this, that security deposit return is not necessarily like a priority of the unit right now, because there's so many evictions out here. We're just trying to keep roofs over people's heads with that. So we might not be able to assign an attorney to specifically represent you in that, but we'd be able to give you some information regarding your rights.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We really appreciate you coming and sharing all that information, and I hope that was useful for people. And if anyone is able to think of any other questions going forward, I know Thomas listed his contact information, and also if you want to send some questions to us, we can definitely forward that for you as well. But we really appreciate you being with us and sharing all that you shared. Thank you so much.
Thanks everyone. Take care. Have a nice night.
You as well. Additionally, just to follow up on that, if anyone is experiencing an issue with an eviction and you have to call PPD and you're not really satisfied with how they've responded, or you believe that they're not responding appropriately, you can always give someone at CPOC a call, and we can definitely follow up on that to make sure that the officers are doing things by the book, doing things the way that they're supposed to do, and that you're taken care of. So please, if that's ever a concern, even if it's not related to an eviction, give CPOC a call. It might be something we can help you with, but if it's not something that we can directly help you with, we can always put you in touch with the right people. So please do not feel any type of way about reaching out. We're always here to help. And so next in our program, we are going to start a brief presentation, and then we are going to go to Officer Woodhouse, who is going to give us some additional information, and we'll open up the floor for any questions that you all may have.
Danny, would you mind sharing your screen again? Okay, friends, so we are going to briefly just talk about a few things that sometimes come up in different neighborhoods and communities, just to give you a couple of tips on some things. We'll call this just CPOC news you can use. So when it comes to illegal dumping, we understand that occurs when anybody dumps trash, garbage, tires, or anything like that in a public place or on private property. And so I'm sure we've all seen it. It creates blight. It makes neighborhoods less healthy, less safe. And so there are violations that can be issued to people who illegally dump, but usually that's only if they can identify the individual. So if you see it happening as it's in progress, you can call 911. Please do not attempt to approach the illegal dumper, call 911. If you see it happening, if you see it after it's happened, then instead of 911, you can call 311. Or you can use 311 has an online form, which I'll go ahead and I'll drop in the chat as well. And so it's important when you reach out to 911 or 311, you give them as much information as you can. So you should include the location, obviously the individual's description, if they're driving a vehicle, the make, model of the car, if you happen to know their license plate, and of course, most importantly, what they're dumping. And so when 311 gets your complaint, they will, sort of route your issue to the appropriate department. And then 311 lets you track your complaint because they're going to give you an 8-digit number that you can use. It's an 8-digit service request number that you can use to track your complaint. And so our communities are the responsibility of all of us. And we understand that when issues like this arise, it's really important for us to act as quickly as possible. Next slide, please.
All right, I'm going to take this one. So we're coming up on that time of year. Many of us celebrate different holidays and get together with our families, but a lot of people do celebrate Christmas and means a lot of Christmas trees. And so, what is the proper way to dispose of a Christmas tree? Philadelphia residents can dispose of their Christmas trees curbside, or they can recycle them. Trees placed curbside will be taken by the city as trash instead of being composted. But if you would like to recycle your tree, you have a few options. You can take it to a city drop-off site, you can take it to a community collection event, or you can arrange for private pickup services. The Department of Streets Christmas tree recycling program takes place for 2 weeks during the month of January. While the program is running, you may bring your Christmas tree to one of several designated locations or to a sanitation convenience center. Trees must be untied and have no decorations in order to make it easy for them to be recycled. Recycled trees are then sent to a vendor that the city has that chips them up, and they use them as a bulking agent for composting. And usually when you take the tree to be recycled, there's a nominal fee ranging somewhere most of the time from $5 to $20. The 2023 dates have not been posted yet, but if you keep in touch with CPOC, we will definitely keep you posted, and we'll have that information on our social media platforms. Next slide.
All right,
please.
so I am sure there's some people on this call or someone that's going to listen to this recording that really cares about their community, and maybe they want to be more involved. Sometimes it's the nosy neighbor that wants to know what everything is happening in their neighborhood, but there is a job for you if that is you. So maybe being a block captain is what you were born to do. And so block captains are really sort of the keeper of the keys in neighborhoods. They're the person that residents may turn to if they have a question. CPOC, PPD, other agencies really rely on block captains to be sort of the credible messengers and the community stakeholders to keep us informed and tell us what services are needed in different neighborhoods. So if you want to become a block captain, that is governed by the Philadelphia More Beautiful Committee, And so I'll drop their phone number in the chat and also a link, but they have several annual events that they do every year. They will give you guidance and tools on how to be a block captain and what your guidelines are. Anybody can be a block captain. And so you need to reach out to your clean block officer. I'll also post the link in the chat for that as well. The clean block officers are separated by police district. So if you know which district you're in, you can reach out to the clean block officer and they will give you guidance on how to actually go about becoming a block captain for your neighborhood. Next slide, please.
At this time, we would like to turn it over to Officer Woodhouse, who has some additional information on how to prevent and report package theft during the holiday season.
Well, good evening, everyone, and I pray you all is well. Package theft is, of course, as most of you know, is very huge. You have people who look to take packages that are left on the porch. And if it hasn't been discussed already, one of the things that you can do to prevent package theft is UPS and a couple other, and I think the post office, they have drop boxes. So if you live in an area where they just leave the packages on the steps or in front of your house, you don't want that, then find out where the nearest drop box is, because UPS has several drop-off locations. If you have a neighbor that you trust, and again, a neighbor that you trust, then you can use their address to have your package delivered. I live in North Philadelphia, and so if I'm getting a package that can't be put on my door, I have my package delivered to where I work. So those are options that you can use to make sure that you get your package. If you do see package theft, if you see it happening, or if you see someone that looks suspicious, dial 911. Now, when you dial 911, make sure that you give as much information about that person that you possibly can, what they're wearing, their complexion, their ethnicity, if possible. The more details you give, the better details you give, the better chance of us being able to catch that person when we come in that area, when we get that call. So if you see someone that looks suspicious, or someone that looks suspicious, dial 911 and give a detailed, as much detail about that person as you possibly can, and even the direction if you possibly can. That will help us out a lot. So those are the things that you can do to help prevent package theft.
Awesome. Thank you. And so I want to let the community go first if anyone has any questions. If not, I do have a few questions. Do we have any hands?
I do. Looks like there might be a question on the chat. What do you do if you see a vehicle following a UPS or Amazon truck tracking packages?
That's a good question.
What do you do if you see a vehicle following a UPS truck?
Yes, or Amazon truck.
Or Amazon truck. If you think that's suspicious, or you think it's suspicious, then dial 911 and give a description of the vehicle, what direction they're going. If you can get the license plate, get the license plate. Once you call that in, that job will be dispatched, and the police that are in the area will investigate. Have you seen this happen before or something, or?
I haven't. Someone just asked in the question. I don't know if PDAC admin, if have you seen that happen before? Looks like we actually have another question. They said, can the police stop them just based off of that? Like if you're given if 911 is given the information of the vehicle, are you able to do a stop just based on that?
Oh no, I mean because I mean how do we know that that vehicle is actually following a UPS truck or whatever? They may be going the same direction. Who knows? So again, it has to be something a little more. But if you think suspicious, I mean, the police will come in and check it out. Now, when the police get there, and if they do see the vehicle, the police are not going to just stop the vehicle. They're going to probably follow the vehicle and monitor it and see what's going on. And if the police see that there's something suspicious, then they will do what they think is necessary.
Yeah, I think they specifically were talking about they've seen vehicles following and taking the packages as the driver leaves them.
Oh, well, that's a different story. I mean, if you see a vehicle following, taking pack, if you see someone following a UPS truck or whatever have you, and you see the person get out the vehicle, and you see the person take the package off the truck, and then get back in the car, yes, you dial 911 and give the license plate if you can, or to make it a model of that vehicle. The police can stop the vehicle. Now, here's the thing. When the police stop the vehicle, we need a complainant. That's what we need in order to make this job stick. All right, because if someone calls and says, "Oh yeah, we this person is taking packages off a truck and they got into his vehicle," the police come, they stop the vehicle, and they get the person, but we don't have a complainant. So you have to be willing. If you see this happening, you call it in. You have to be willing to be a witness because we didn't see it. And so therefore, when it goes to court, the first thing they're going to ask is, officer, did you see my client take this package off the truck? No. Do you have a witness? No, because the witness didn't come to court. And so that job is thrown out. So if you do see it, you should be willing to be a witness, because that's what we need. We need you because you're the one that witnessed it.
Miss Annette, you have your hand raised, it looks like. Did you have a question you wanted to ask?
Yes, I do. First, God bless everybody. Good evening. Thank you for this presentation. I had a motorized chair to be, I went online and asked it go to the CVS drop off. Because of the weight, the weight of the chair was more than 45 pounds. So it should have been sent to the South Philadelphia drop-off spot. But the UPS driver dropped the package off at my home. I was out of town, and it also required a signature. So they just dropped it, no signature. I got email telling me package dropped off, called my neighbor. She watched the package until another neighbor went over and took to his house till my brother came and picked up my power chair. So sometimes the UPS drivers, they're not really responsible to follow their own protocol. But if you anticipate a package come your home, but there, you can go online and ask to be sent to like a CVS, or they have different places where they will hold it for you to get it. Like for like a few days, they will hold for you.
If I could follow up on that, because that kind of segues into one of the questions that I had for Officer Woodhouse. Do some police districts allow residents to have their packages shipped there to be picked up at a later date for safekeeping?
That I'm not aware of.
Okay.
We haven't done that as far as I know. I mean, there may be.
Do you think that might be something that might be possible, especially for people that may not be in an area where they have access to one of those drop sites or one of those the like Amazon boxes or UPS boxes?
I mean, yeah, a person they can go into the district and ask if that's possible.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have any more questions?
I do.
Okay.
Officer Woodhouse, can you, oh, I'll wait till after Deacon Beloved gives his comment or question.
I think, hold on, let me just unmute them.
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Brother Moses. The reason why I say Deacon Beloved, because I call everybody my beloved brother or sister. I'm over here at the 17th District of Chaplain. I'm an active Town Watch member, and I'm also on the Police Advisory Council here. To the lady who had the issue with the package, in our meetings with the command over here at the 17th and with the other officers, what we try to instill in our district, the 17th, we try to, on each block, if you don't have a block captain and you know somebody that's retired on your block, please try to establish a relationship with them. So if you do have packages coming, they'll hold them for you while you go. Everybody getting packages stolen. This ain't nothing new. Everybody is. So if you can have somebody reliable on your block that's retired that you know, get to know them. We got a saying in Town Watch. The saying is, get to know your neighbor before you need your neighbor. And that's very wise because we all at one point in time may have an emergency and we're going to need somebody. So get to know them before you need them. That's what keeps us going. Okay. I hope that helped. Thank you.
That's good.
Officer Woodhouse, so I just have a quick question. So can you talk a little bit about the district safe site policy? My understanding is the district is a place where if you had, bought something online or you want to meet up with somebody that's selling you something, or you're exchanging money, you can do it at the district. There's just another safety protocol. And you can also exchange, custody if you have children. Can you talk a little bit about the safe site policy?
Yeah, there's if you're purchasing something, you want to make a purchase online or what's that site that a lot of people go to? I forget the name.
Craigslist.
Yeah, Craigslist and those type of lists and all that stuff. And you want to arrange a meeting. You can arrange the meeting to have them meet at the district. So if you don't feel comfortable meeting that person, just say, hey, let's meet at whatever district that's closest to you or it's convenient for you. And yes, and you could come to the district and make that exchange. I think that's safer anyway.
Thank you.
Custody is even custody. If for persons who getting children is an issue, you can always come to the district and exchange children or drop-offs for children. So yes.
Do you recommend that people call the district ahead of time and say at 1 o'clock, me and my husband, we're exchanging, our child? Do they have to make an appointment or should they just?
No, they don't have to make an appointment. They just come into the district. They can make arrangements, with that person say, I will go to whatever district and we can exchange the child there. So when they come, they'll tell the police that, hey, I'm here for exchange, and the police will say okay, and then that person come in and get the child. Yes. So I know we don't. The 16th district, there's no appointment needed. That's an arrangement that is made between the parents, and they just come and say, hey, we're here to do an exchange.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
I think those are all the questions. I don't know.
So if we have no more questions, we are going to
Deacon
transition.
Beloved has his hand
Okay.
raised again.
on the officer with the exchange and to anyone else. Unfortunately, I did that for 14 years, from 93 to about 2006. And I was in a very volatile scenario, and I had to do it for 14 years. But we did take the court papers and talk with the sergeant and everything prior to it happening. They made a record of it. We set up the dates and times according to whatever was on the court order. And so they knew to expect either one of us earlier than the other. So that way when it happened, one would be behind the door, the other one would be in the open part. And that way it wasn't no fricas or nothing. And unfortunately, I got a lot of experience in a lot of things. I'm a good guy, but I got a lot of experience. I'm a former Marine. I got 4 years with the correction system as a correction officer. I got 4 years school police and 20 years with the government. Been block captain for 30 years. But I'm here today, but born in South Philly. My name is Moses Cotton. They call me brother beloved, deacon beloved, or uncle beloved. And I call you the same, sister or brother beloved. And I like calling everybody my sister or my brother because hopefully sooner or later you treat me like that, because I'm gonna treat you like that. Thank you.
Yeah, Danny, can you unmute Julian? Looks like he's talking.
Hold on.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep. Yes.
Okay, awesome. So now we're going to transition to our public comment section. And we have a couple questions for the group. If you wouldn't mind sharing, we would love to hear from you. But if you don't want to answer one of the questions that we have, you can share whatever it is that you'd like to share, and the floor will be yours. So the two questions we have, what does an accountable and transparent police department look like? And what should be the priorities of a civilian oversight agency?
Rosa, did you want to make a comment?
Well, not to Julian's question, but just last Thursday, I had the honor of meeting with Deputy Commissioner Frank. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name right, Valet, and the Chief Inspector for AID and the Lieutenant. And by my personal experience, I want to share with the community and with my commissioners and with CPOC employees that there has to be a policy and procedure enforced, how our police officers talk to family members of deceased. Period. I don't care if they're men or women. There has to be a policy. In my experience with my son Moses, and it's a great name, my brother Moses, I was not once, but 3 times, and a lieutenant, and I can't remember his name, said that the gentleman that collided with my son's vehicle was a decent guy. Now, keep in mind that we as parents, as mothers, as grandmothers, as sisters and brothers, when a tragedy happens, our officers have to learn to speak to the community. And they're going to be hysterical and they're going to be defensive, but there's certain words that they have to use, how to communicate with the community. And I spoke to Anthony that there has to be a policy and procedures that we can address to our police department in regards to that, because some officers have forgotten to use compassion when talking to our community. So this is the comment I wanted to make.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's a really good point. And I just want to interject really quickly. We are over time right now. We want to, stay on and give anybody who wants to speak the opportunity to speak. But if anyone does have to jump off, we completely understand, and we are very thankful that you joined us tonight. We're always available if you want to send us an email or reach out to us on one of our social media platforms. Give us a call if you have anything else that you'd like to say. But we are going to keep going and make sure that everyone has a chance to speak that wants to speak.
So I'm up next.
Yes.
Thank you, Kazar Abdul Kabir. I like this CPOC organization. I'm an activist in the 60th Street corridor in Cobbs Creek. I'm well known. I'm called the mayor of Cobbs Creek. One of the things that I have noticed with the people here is we have a disconnection from the police department to the DA's office. And the people are feeling like, who do they go to? The police is on one side and the DA is on the other side against each other, instead of being on the same page as, because of the things that's going on in the neighborhood. How would you, as CPOC, help us to bridge that gap for those of us that are activists that are saying, yes, you got bad apples, but you basically have good apples there. And how do we make sure that connection stays? Because this is why people don't want to come to court, because they don't trust the police and they don't trust the DA's office. So we need to find a way to make them understand that if they're not on that same page, and I hate to be redundant, if they're not on that same page, it turns the people of the community off, especially in a poor poverty community that's already have a certain fear for the Philadelphia police.
That's definitely a good point, and I feel like a lot of communities across the city are feeling disconnected. If Danny could you possibly put my email in the chat? It's kind of hard going from screen to screen on my phone. But if you reach out to me, I would definitely connect with you, and I would love to come, out to Cobbs Creek and talk with you and other leaders in the community. With Talia and I, we would love to come out and talk with you all to see, kind of where those points of disconnection are, and see how we can kind of help to bridge those gaps. Because I know, your problems are going to take a lot longer than, the time that we have here left. But it is very important for us, and we would absolutely love to come out at a time that's convenient for you and talk to, yourself, the neighbors, and other community leaders over there in Cobbs Creek to see what our department can do to bridge that gap.
Yeah, looks like Erica has their hand raised now.
Yes. Thank you for extending all of your time. I really do appreciate that. I think for me, I would like for the CPOC to show that they are doing more advocacy on behalf of the community by letting us know exactly what's going on within the police department, specifically around where our tax dollars are going, around how much money is going out for civilian complaints or civilian payouts or things of that nature. But also I would like to, I know for me personally, I would love to see something more informative around how violence in our community is also connected to food insecurity and scarcity. Just I guess other forms of information, statistics, how many folks has CPOC actually walked through the process of complaints and it has been successful. Just some information around some wins. And maybe even with some of the recommendations that recently came out, if CPOC is working on some of those and maybe having some conversations around it.
I think Anthony probably wants to answer, but I think a really good question back to you is what do you measure? How do you measure success? That's a really important thing I think we have to talk about when we're talking about complaints, but I'll pass it over to Anthony to talk more about how our complaints sort of work.
Hi, Erica. So regarding reporting out, so we're literally about to start ramping up our reporting out of much of the data that you just requested. As we do our build out and we we increase our capacity, we're going to be reporting out on those issues. There's a fairly strict legislative requirement on all the information we have to report out and give data on, but that doesn't limit us in terms of what we do report out. So input from the community and people like you on what you want to hear about from the police department is going to be integral in sort of what we say to you and what we gather and collect. Because one of the good things about CPOC is that we have almost unlimited access to data and information. So if there's things that we're legally required to report out, that we will, but that doesn't mean that's all we're going to do. So talking with you further about the issues that you're interested in hearing about and having reported out, we can tell you specifically what's required. And we can also add some of the things that you're suggesting, because that's one of the good things about community input. So with the access that we have, we can do a whole lot with it. We can do it guided by people like yourself.
And just to let you also know, we have undertaken getting a case management system, and our knock on wood, but our hope is that it'll be going live by the end of the calendar year. And one of the really amazing parts of this case management system is that there'll be a lot of open data information in terms of the complaints that we take in and refer, that'll be available to the public on our website that anyone can access 24/7. It'll be live, up-to-date information as well. So a lot of that stuff will hopefully soon become more easily accessible as we do this new exciting case management system.
And if I can just address one of the specific things that Erica mentioned was, kind of like that settlement money from, what the department's kind of paying out. That was something that I specifically inquired to the controller's office about. But as you know, there's been some turnover there, so it's taking a while to get that out. But when that information comes in, in the best way for us to disseminate that information, I think that's important for the community to know as well. So I will definitely keep you in the loop when, specific things come up. And, like Anthony said, it's important for us to get that information out for transparency. So we're here to do that in the best and most efficient way possible. So thank you for sharing them.
Looks like our next person, OnePlus Nord.
Hello.
Hi, we can hear you now.
Okay, good. My name is Kelvin Carrington, and I'm a volunteer with a group called Participatory Defense Hub, and we do court support work and work that the lawyers can't do for defendants. We help defendants and their families work through the cases, and I would just like to know if it's possible to have someone attend like one of our Zoom meetings. I'm going to talk to our facilitators about this, because especially we have a lot of people that work with us that have been in Mr. Hassan's position. And basically, yeah, that's where I'd like to know, how could I find out if we could do that.
Absolutely. I think my email should be in the chat. If you want to reach out to me, I will absolutely respond. And I would love to come, or to Lee or I, but also you can give us a call if that's easier, and someone can relay the message. But yeah, we would love to come to one of your meetings. Absolutely.
Okay, because right now we're doing Zoom meetings, so we wouldn't really have to come anyway.
Well, we'll be there.
We'll be there.
So let me know when, let's connect, and we'll be there.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Looks like Deacon has another comment. Oop.
Thank you, brother. I believe Brother Daniel sent me a chat saying what district I'm in. I am not good on this chat stuff. I can barely use the reactions. I'm sorry, forgive me. But my sister Talia has all my information because she's the one that sent me the email.
Great. It was actually Calvin who was interested. He was curious if you were in the 17th district.
Yes, I am 17, and I can tell you my information. My email is mosescotton@gmail.com.
Thank you.
COTTON. Okay,
Thank you. We'll help
right.
connect you both as well.
okay. Thank you.
Hassan, I saw you. Did you have a comment? I think I see any other stuff in the chat or.
He's waving. I think he can't unmute.
Oh, hold on. Let me unmute you, Hassan. Sorry.
So to the guy that was speaking about the Participatory Defense Hub, I'm a member of the West Philly, the Participatory Defense Hub as well, so I have no problem appearing before the Participatory Defense Hub. Hello? Is he on? What's his name?
He is on, but he's muted, I think, right now.
Yeah, so if you just send me an email.
Yep, he's going to connect with us for a few things, so we'll connect you to him as well, Hassan.
All right, no problem.
Any more comments? Or if anyone else would like to comment on what does an accountable and transparent police department look like, and what should be the priorities of civilian oversight? And if not, we can transition now to our closing remarks if no one has any other comments.
I just wanted to say that I left my name, the organization, which is Community Solution CDC, and my email address if anyone would like to get in touch with me or to like to work with us here on the 60th Street corridor for things that we're doing besides food insecurities and education. So please reach out to us. We need all the help we can at this time. We have 40 organizations that follow us and that is out helping us try to clean up the community. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Yeah. Deacon, you had another comment?
No.
Yes, on the transparency, every district is different, as the brothers and sisters just said. However, every district in the city of Philadelphia has a captain's meeting. Every person that's interested in the district they live in, developing a relationship with the officers, may want to go to those meetings. They have them once a month. Ours is on Tuesday at 6 o'clock, and we meeting on Zoom. But you get with your community relations officer, and they'll tell you when the meeting is for your district. And that's how you can start getting more transparency by building more of a relationship with the officers. And that's only on the even level side. I'm not taking the corrupt officers. I'm not taking the racism. I'm not taking, they treat me bad. I'm just going on the even level. The way we can be informed is to be informed. And that's when we get into the information hubs. And that's where the information is given out at these meetings. I'm in here, this is my first time with y'all, and I appreciate it. And it's a lot of good things coming out of here. And we want to keep things positive. And that's for everybody, because we all got to live and coexist together. And the only way we can do that is if we can communicate. But that's it for me. Enough,
Absolutely. Deacon Beloved, you know, after our meetings, we usually send out a follow-up email to everyone, just thanking them for coming out and, mentioning the highlights. If it's helpful, we can include a list of all the community relations officers for all the districts, just so if people want that information, they can have it. So we'll add that in.
Yes, yes, because then people know who they can really go to for their district. That's a plus.
But you can always reach out to CPOC and let us know what district you're in, and we'll find out when your PDAC meeting is or when the captain's meeting is, and we'll let you know as well.
Right, that's good. Because the PDAC meetings, that's a little bit, you can only be in a little bit of the session till they go into the official business.
Yeah.
The captain's meeting for everybody in that district.
Or the PSA, so we can.
The PSAs, yes. You know what to do, sister. Thank y'all.
That's good.
Thank you. I think that might be it.
All right, let's turn it over for the closing remarks.
Okay, that's me, friends. So thank you everyone for joining us this evening. You know, listen, it is always a good thing when we go over time because that means people are engaged and they're interested in what we're talking about. The worst thing in the world is to have an hour and a half blocked and 10 minutes in, there's nothing else to say. So thank you for sticking with us. It looks like we have the majority of the group that started at 6 still here. So thank you so much. If you are interested in finding out more about us, of course, we are on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. You can go to our website. Everyone, if you are a part of our email list, you are going to get a survey that's going to be sent to you. And that survey is going to ask you specifically about tonight's meeting. What did you think of the presenters? What are some things you liked? What didn't you like? What are some things you want us to talk about and present to the community? It's really important that you fill that survey out because it helps us get better and it helps us give you things that are useful to you that you need and that you can use. Tomorrow, we are going to be at the School District of Philadelphia's Transgender Day of Remembrance. This is their second event. It is an event that honors transgender individuals that have been victims of violence. And so we understand that, you know, transgender women of color are typically, you know, they experience violence at alarming rates, and often those types of crimes are not always investigated as they should be. So we are going to be at the Transgender Day of Remembrance at the school district. The police department's recruit graduation is coming up. We're going to be there just because it's important for the civilians to be in the room so that these new recruits, when they come out and they're hitting our streets, they know that we are, you know, there to also hold them accountable. This week is Hunger and Homeless Awareness Week. The Office of Homeless Services, they have several events going on throughout the city, and there are a lot of agencies and organizations that are looking for volunteers. And so when we send out that email, we'll also go ahead and list some of the events, a link to some of the events that are going on just throughout the, you know, the whole month. And finally, if you celebrate Thanksgiving, happy Thanksgiving to everyone early. If you celebrate, you know, put gravy on everything, spend the time with your family. And if you don't, have a wonderful end of November. And we're going to see you on December 6th and the third Tuesday in December. Now I'm drawing a blank as to what it is, but that's going to be our next community meeting. And then December 6th will be sort of the CPOC business meeting. So there'll be more info on that we will distribute. So again,
the third will be the 20th, Talia, though we might want to move that up since how close it is to the holidays. But we will include in our email tomorrow or later this week in our thank you email when both those meetings will be, so everybody is informed.
Okay, sounds good.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, good night.
Hope everyone has a great night. Thank you for joining.
Good night.